Support for Michigan Public comes from the University of Michigan's Look to Michigan campaign, working towards a stronger, more connected Michigan, championing sustainability, global citizenship, and educational opportunity. More information at looktomichigan.umich.edu.
History is full of fierce debates that have shaped our world. Nature versus nurture. Lincoln versus Douglas. Kendrick versus Drake. But there might be no greater debate, no dividing line deeper than the name that we use for a sweet, fizzy, carbonated beverage.
Do you say pop or soda?
Pop.
Pop. And have you always just said pop?
Yes, because we're normal here.
Soda.
Pop. Pop.
Soda. Pop is my father.
I do now say soda, actually. I used to say pop.
Pop.
Okay, and why do you feel about people who say soda?
I mean, they're all right, but they're not real Michiganders, I'm going to be honest. They're imposters.
This is On Hand, a stateside podcast here to answer your questions about what makes Michiganders unique. I'm April Baer. And hey, we're always up for a good debate. But it goes without saying that Michigan is pop country, right?
All right, name and where you're from.
Nate Kleinman, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
What do you want to know about these weird people here?
I'm wondering if pop instead of soda is losing steam as a word that you all use.
Is that what you've heard?
Yeah, I've heard that pop it's starting to fade. Is that right?
Say it ain't so. Could our beloved pop be turning into plain old soda? We have asked stateside producer April Van Buren to crack this cold one open for us. April, hi.
Hi, April.
So where do we start on this one?
Well, I think the first thing you have to understand is that pop culture, and I am using that term literally here, it runs very deep in Michigan. There have been a lot of iconic pop brands that have come out of our state. You have the big names like Verner's and Faygo, and those go all the way back to the 19th and 20th centuries. And then you have smaller brands like Town Club, which was founded in 1959. And these are all brands that are still being made here in Michigan. So I figured if I was going to get to the bottom of why Michiganders say pop, I should start at the source.
So right now we're at Town Club Bottling, our manufacturing facility that we make all the products at on Exeter Street and State Street.
That is Steve Stamenkovich. He's the National Accounts Manager for Intrastate Distributors, which owns and manufactures the Town Club brand.
So does this mean you actually got to see how that sweet fizzy goodness is made?
Yes, and it felt like I was on an episode of How It's Made, if you remember that show from the 2000s. Yes. We had the hairnets and everything.
Steven's going to bring the hairnets. The ones we got over here are kind of small, so I told him to go get some bigger ones. I got a big head. I don't want to ruin my hair.
That Steven, that Steve is talking about here is this guy.
Yeah, I'm Stephen Clark. I'm the Quality Assurance Manager here at the Town Club Bottling Plant.
And Steven is going to be our professor of pop today.
First step is we take the Detroit City water and we soften it with a lime softening process to give it more of like a classic soda taste.
So you have your water, then you need some sugar syrup.
It's basically like 10 pounds of sugar per gallon of water. It's very thick, very thick syrup.
That sugar gets mixed with flavors and preservatives and sent through this network of pipes into a very loud machine called a blender. And that is where they add the water and the carbonation. Meanwhile, all of your clean, empty bottles are making their way down a conveyor belt. First, they get a label.
First, the neck label is applied, then the front label, and then the back label, and the bottle turns so the label hits the right spot on the bottle.
Then it's on to filling. And finally, a machine that screws on all the little caps to each bottle.
And so, what did the professionals have to say about this question, whether we should call this bottle of Town Club a pop or a soda?
I posed that question to Steve Stamenkovich, and he was pretty adamant that if you are talking about soft drinks made in Michigan, you're talking about pop.
For us Midwesterners, it's pop. There's no other way around it. So we go to Florida. We know because we do shows. We travel across the country. Oh, this is a great soda. And I said, no, it's pop.
And he has some pretty good reasons to defend pop.
Town Club, Michigan made, started in 1959. And that like 59, 60 stores in Michigan only, where they had pop shop stores.
Pop shops. They called them that?
That is what they called them, pop shops. Town Club really builds its whole brand around these pop shops. At the time, they aren't selling their products in grocery stores or gas stations. So if you wanted Town Club, you had to take a trip to the pop shop.
The store would say on the front, pop shop, right? Town Club pop shop. You walk in there, and there's shelves of all different flavors, like maybe 4 or 5 shelves, 20 feet to 30 feet long, right? And each side of the walls, and also on the back walls. And so what they do, you exchange bottles, right? You bring the old ones back, you exchange it, and then you just go around picking up the flavors you want. You put it in the wooden crate, and that's it. You walk out $2.40, $2.50 for a case of 24.
I mean, Steve makes a good argument for pop in Michigan, but do we know how loyal the rest of Michigan is to the word pop?
We do. So there is this cartographer named Alan McConkey. He has this ongoing crowdsourced linguistic geography project. Basically, if you go to the website popversussoda.com, you can enter your hometown and your preferred term for a sweet carbonated beverage. And one important caveat here, this is not a scientific study. These data were self-reported, not randomly sampled. And we also can't verify people were telling the truth. But so far, more than 400,000 people have responded to this question. And what McConkey has done is turn all of those answers into a sort of heat map of pop versus soda versus Coke preference across the country.
Okay, so where does Michigan fall in the great pop versus soda versus Coke debate?
So out of everyone who reported being from Michigan, 64% said they use the term pop. About 34% said soda. Less than 1% said Coke. But one really interesting thing about this data is that out of all of the 50 states, Michigan had the highest number of respondents, around 32,000 people.
Wow. What do you take away from that?
Well, if nothing else, we as Michiganders seem to be particularly tuned into this debate.
So pop seems to be holding strong in Michigan, but as you were looking into this, April, did you get any idea about why we Michiganders call it that in the first place?
There are definitely some theories out there, but I really think we're going to need a linguist to get to the bottom of this can of pop.
And I think I know a gal. We're going to talk to her right after a short break.
Support from Michigan Public's On Hand podcast comes from Lake Trust Credit Union, working to empower financial well-being for Michigan consumers, businesses, and communities, committed to financial solutions and advice to support people and families. More information at laketrust.org.
Okay, back to the question at hand.
I'm wondering if pop instead of soda is losing steam as a word that you all use.
Nate Kleinman is not alone in wondering whether Michiganders are saying pop less. There definitely are Michiganders who've made the switch to saying soda, including Stateside's own executive producer, Laura Weber Davis.
I say soda now.
You do?
I do.
How long have you been saying soda?
Maybe 10 years.
10 years. Did you do it because you were embarrassed and ashamed to say pop in front of certain mixed audiences?
Maybe.
Anecdotes can only get you so far, though. So let's bring in an expert. The word nerd supreme, Ann Curzan. Ann is a linguist and professor of English at the University of Michigan. She's also the co-host of another Michigan Public podcast called That's What They Say. Ann, welcome to On Hand.
I could not be more pleased to be here to talk about this very important topic.
So we did a little bit of internet digging, and it turns out that Nate is not the only person wondering whether soda is surpassing pop as a preferred term in Michigan. So, Ann, let's pull up a chair and a glass. Oh, look at that sweet, sweet goodness. So which came first, the soda or the pop?
Well, soda, we get to go back to the late 1700s and Jacob Schwepp. And if that
of Schweppes.
of
Ginger ale.
Schweppes.
Okay.
And he developed a process to manufacture carbonated mineral water. And that mineral water often had sodium bicarbonate. And that is why we call it soda. It was considered a health drink. And we get soda water in 1802 and then just soda by the 1830s. This is why soda was often served in drugstores, because it was a health drink. And the soda fountains were in pharmacies. They were in drugstores. The pharmacists who were working the soda fountains started to put in fruit and herbs to sweeten these mineral waters. And that's how soda came to refer to these sweetened carbonated beverages.
All right, so soda was first to the scene, thanks to Schweppes. Do we have any definitive answer as to when or why Michiganders started calling it pop instead?
It's not totally clear about why pop is the term that we use in the Midwest. The Oxford English Dictionary has got the first reference of pop to a carbonated beverage in 1812.
Wow.
And it's in Britain.
Oh.
So it's in a letter by Robert Southey, and he says, a new manufactory of a nectar between soda water and ginger beer, and called pop, because pop goes the cork when it is drawn.
Alliteration for the win every single time.
So we have this onomatopoetic pop for, as you have demonstrated, the opening of the bottle, now the can. And that is the term that takes hold in the Midwest in the 20th century. Exactly why, we're not sure, but part of the answer might be related to Faygo.
The Faygo Kid. Which way did he go? Which way did he go? He went for Faygo!
What we do know is that the Faygo company used the word pop to refer to their carbonated beverages.
We'd like to purchase a can of Faygo. Oh, what flavor would you like?
And they started advertising at Detroit Tigers games in the 1960s.
Orange, root beer, grape, berry cherry cola, lemon lime, fruit punch, rock and rye, and red pop.
And that is about when we also see pop getting a stronger and stronger foothold in the Midwest.
So I think I'm hearing you say that soda was kind of the preferred nomenclature in North America when carbonated beverages first started becoming a thing, but that might be the point where pop started to get primacy in Michigan?
Yeah, we don't have great data here, but the Dictionary of American Regional English sent out field workers in the 1930s in New England to say, what do you all call this carbonated beverage here? And they got the words soda, soda water, pop, and soda pop. And you'll notice, April, that I said that these field workers were in New England and they were getting pop and soda pop. And they described this as, and here I quote, an unstable linguistic situation.
Oh, wow. As unstable as a shaken can of Verner's, no doubt.
So that's the 1930s. By the 1960s, we start to see this distribution where pop is more in the North, Midwest, and we've got soda in the Northeast and the Central Atlantic. So then we have to explain why. We don't totally know, but I kind of like putting some Faygo and Red Pop right into the middle of that.
So today's language, I get what you're saying about that historic thing, but do you see today clear dividing lines in the pop versus soda debate, or people who just say Coke? That's more of a Southern thing, right?
That's a Southern thing.
Yeah.
You can find now terrific maps of the pop, soda, Coke, and other. Now, I must say that I am an other speaker, and I didn't know that other people would make fun of me until I moved to Michigan and people made fun of me because I grew up as a soft drink speaker.
Oh, what state did you grow up in?
I grew up in Maryland, right outside D.C.
Okay.
And they were all soft drinks to me. And then I moved to Michigan and everybody called them pop. And I still have trouble saying pop with a straight face. So on these maps, what you see is you've got soda dominating in the Northeast and down the East Coast. And then it is also very common in California, parts of the West. Then in the Midwest, you've got a lot of pop. So Michigan, a lot of pop. Minnesota, the Dakotas. But you have these funny pockets. Eastern Wisconsin, soda. You get these dividing lines. Northern Illinois, a lot more pop. Southern Illinois, you're getting into soda. And Missouri divides east-west so that St. Louis, more soda. Kansas City, more pop. And then, as you noted, April, in the South, we have generic Coke. And the pop soda Coke distinction is one that people are really proud of.
You know, to Nate's question about whether Michigan's very specific preference for pop over soda is going away, do you find that as a country we're losing some of our regional language quirks as the culture becomes more globalized?
From what we can tell, and linguists are studying this as I speak, American dialects do not seem to be getting weaker. People actually don't want to all sound the same. We want to sound like our communities, be those regional communities or social communities. So while there are globalizing and nationalizing pressures, from what we can tell, the pop, soda, Coke distinction is not about to disappear. There actually was a study done in 2012 by Ed Chen, who was a data scientist at Twitter, and he was mapping geotagged tweets. And his map looked a whole lot like a map from 2003, where we were seeing these Midwest pop, Northeast, West Coast soda, South Coke. And then all of us soft drink speakers who are a little bit scattered around and about. And I was just up in northern Michigan, and I was in a grocery store, and the sign over the aisle with the soft drinks said soft drinks, and I felt vindicated.
So seen. So seen.
Exactly.
Ann Curzan is the co-host of the podcast That's What They Say, and a linguist and professor of English at the University of Michigan. Ann, thank you for setting us straight on this. We appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
So there you go, Nate. Soda might have some toeholds in Michigan, but pop is still king. And that's On Hand for today. Now we want to answer your question about Michigan. This podcast is here solely to work out the things that you want to know about our state, the things that make us quirky and different. Submit your questions, and we might just investigate them on a future episode of On Hand. You can fill out the form online at michiganpublic.org or send us an email. It's onhand@michiganpublic.org. Today's pod was produced by April Van Buren and by Jody Westrick. Other producers are Mike Blank, Ronia Kavan-Sugg, Michelle Jokish-Polo, and Mercedes Mejia, our senior producer. The executive producer of Stateside is Laura Weber-Davis. Podcast music comes from Blue Dot Sessions and also from Audio Network. Thanks for listening, and get those questions in. We can't wait to hear from you. Bye-bye.